Okay, today we are playing a game on Paris. We are in the Diamond SR range, and we will be playing Mercy the entire way through. We are also on the console today, so consider yourself forewarned. This is a pretty long game, and we got a lot of questions in the email, so we're just going to get right into it, and we're not going to worry about the team comp too much. We're playing a dive comp. Look at that. That's all you need to know. So we got a fire right now, which means we get to hang out in the sky, which is always a good time for us as Mercy. The thing with running a dive comp on this team, on this map that would concern me, is coming around the corner and finding like a Bastion May bunker comp sat around here, because then what's Winston gonna do, right? But, you know, fortunately we don't see anything quite that dire, so that's nice. However, we do get to see something else dire, which is basically just our teammates going around the corner and dying one by one. So, it's a good start. It's a good start to the day so far. Farah is now changed to Doomfist, probably because she got clapped by McCree as soon as she went around that corner. I didn't like that too much. I'll go Doomfist instead. So, Moira's just faded through the gate by herself. Moira's just going to go and flank off on the right-hand side by herself now. And, oh, look at that. Moira's dead. How about that? How strange. So, we're going in now. We did swing sort of into McCree and ended up taking a big chunk of damage from him right there, because he's still off in the side. Oh, he's still there right now. So, this is the unfortunate thing happening here, is, you know, we want to follow our teammates in, but McCree is, like, literally, like, 3 feet to our right now instead. So, we're like, well, now, our choices are go up there, where the entire enemy team is, or go over here, where McCree is, neither of which are particularly appealing options, and slowly, one by one, our teammates are all dying around us as well, so it's going really well. Moira's going off to maybe get staggered with Winston right now. Nope. Didn't get staggered. Look at that. Great job, Moira. It's alright, she might fade around the corner by herself in a second and try to flank, because, you know, that's how people be. So, tragically, there hasn't really been much we could really do about this as Mercy, because if your teammates are kind of gonna kind of all go off by themselves and, like, get picked off one by one, you know, you've got limited options, as anybody really, to deal with that kind of situation. Mercy, you could at least res the people if they die in convenient locations, but they never do. So, Genji did die in a pretty reasonable spot, and their team is slowly starting to die at this point. We came in and threw a few ultimates at them, so they've ended up getting I don't know, I've just completely lost that train of thought, to be honest with you. I was just midway through the sentence and just completely forgot what I was saying, so presumably I'm having a stroke, which would be nothing new, to be fair. I have one like every other week. So, anyway, we've captured the first checkpoint. That's, like, most of the work on, Paris, so now we have to capture the second checkpoint. Hopefully they don't, figure out that they could change to some people that counter a dive comp a little bit better than Hanzo McCree, you know, but hopefully they don't figure that one out, because at least if they continue being, like, Hanzo McCree, it's not that hard for us to just, like, jump on them. But if they change to, like, Reaper May, things might get a little bit more difficult for us as a team. So we're chucking some ults onto the point right now. Ooh, almost went to the dragon, but not quite. And things are getting close. Who do we res? Because I was like, oh, we could res Mercy. Now we resed Moira down here. That's fair enough. I was like, we could have resed Diva right there, but no, we didn't have our res. We resed Moira over here, though, so that's fair enough. Moira doing a great job of staying alive so far. Absolutely great. So, anyway. Oh, that's scary, but we're in the bubble right now. So, we gotta get, like, I gotta line of sight real quickly on that one, though. We do loiter in front of this McCree for a while. The thing that's scary is that, because of the way Deadeye works, where it's charging up even if it's at, like, max, is that, like, the scary thing there is if if two of us are in the bubble, then he could pop the bubble with one shot and then kill the other person in the bubble, even if it's not us that dies, because Deadeye's kind of wonky like that, where even when it's fully locked on, it's still actually building up damage, so that's how you end up with these situations where, like, 3 people are stood behind a shield, and then the shield breaks in one shot, and the 2 other people die, even if the shield was at full health. So, there is a question in the email about this we'll worry about the questions at the end. There's timestamps in there, but we'll just go through it at the end rather than stopping every time, because there's 9 questions I think were in the email, so rather than stop and start constantly, we'll just address them all at the end in one big bulk thing, and just go back to the timestamps. So this is a little bit of an awkward platformer if you want to stick like far back as Mercy. Pretty much the best we can do is just like play around this thing in the middle and just sit as far back as we can for this platform, because if you stand off like to the side anywhere, you can end up getting clapped pretty easily by people just going through one of the doorways on the sides. So as we can see, a lot of our teammates just kind of died right there. I've just been watching and just slowly everybody's died one by one. I was kind of talking about my own thing, like... So, they're just kind of muscling in. Moira died right there, so that's really bad, because we as Mercy are not going to be able to keep up with this much healing by ourselves. Could we have rezzed Moira sooner, realistically? No, not really, because Moira died, like, right next to the edge of the platform, so that's just in full view of the enemy team. Yeah, Moira getting picked off at the start of this fight was just really bad, because we just can't keep up as Mercy. Everybody was already kind of low by that point, then Moira dies, and it's just us by ourselves. Nah. Moira dying right at the start was like the problem there, and we couldn't res her sooner because she died so close to the edge of the platform that she just died in full view of the enemy team. So us going up to res her to get the source of healing back would have just resulted in us dying as well. So at least we live, so that's what we've got that going for us, which is nice. Moira is dead again, so she's doing a great job. You know, like, the cool thing about Moira is that she's easily the hardest support to kill, right? Like, she's got tremendous self-sustain and self-peel, right? Like, her and Lucio are easily the 2 most survivable supports in the entire game. And yet, Moira today has just found a way to die in, like, almost every fight that we've had so far, really early on. So, she's doing great so far. She's doing fantastic. You know, they say Moira doesn't have utility, and that's not a lie. Moira doesn't have utility. But what utility she does have is that she's a support that the other supports shouldn't have to worry about. That her teammates shouldn't have to worry about. Not even just the other support, right? Like, you shouldn't have to worry, really, about keeping Moira alive. She should be able to keep herself alive through almost any situation, right? That's like the utility Moira has, and then you watch some people playing Moira, and you're like, I can see why Moira players have a bad name, you know? I see why. So anyway, we lost the first checkpoint, like, pretty fast. But we've got, Valkyrie now. Their McCree just used Deadeye, so we don't have to worry about that. While we're using, Valkyrie, we don't have to worry about him ulting us while we're in the sky. And now we're going out to try and help get some kills ourselves, but they're too far out, not gonna happen. We've pushed them back, so that's the thing. That's the important thing. You know, doing that kind of thing as Mercy, you know, it is, like, risky that, like, we die, but not overly so unless we run into, like, some hard crowd control or a sniper. The thing with doing that kind of play is that sometimes you might bait your teammates into following you out, and they are likely easier to kill than you are. So that's the real risk inherent with going for, like, that kind of aggressive play, like, out of the gate, is your teammates might go, well, if Mercy's going, I'm fucking going, dude, you know? And that's them being bad more than anything else, but, you know, unfortunately, playing any kind of game like this, playing around your own team being bad is just as important about as playing around the enemy team being bad. I just really haven't had much to say about the game so far. Overall, we haven't been doing anything egregious. We've watched this player before, like, plenty of times. Like, she's good at the game. She's good at the video game, so... we're not doing anything, like, egregious. We're just sitting back. We're playing safe. And Mercy... just the type of hero she is, there's usually less to say overall. So, you know, I gotta find something to talk about, dude. So we're sitting pretty far back. You know, be a little, kind of like... got a little, like, lost back here. Sort of, yeah. And then Hanzo ends up dying while we're out of line of sight, but Hanzo would have probably died anyway, because he got, looks like he got spiked to death by, Fire Strike at the end. So, unfortunately, we can't really res him, because he's, like, died in full view of the enemy team. We are using Valkyrie right now, so if Moira wasn't using Coalescence, I would say this would be safe to do, because Coalescence will actually kill you fairly quickly through Valkyrie. I've killed plenty of Mercies in my time playing Moira using Coalescence. So if we just stop to res someone in view of the enemy team while their Moira's using Coalescence, like, we're pretty much hosed. This guy got pinned by, like, this Genji just got pinned by fucking Reinhardt, so that's depressing. Can't really res him either, because Reinhardt will just swing at us and kill us, so unfortunately we can't really res him unless Reinhardt leaves. And at this point, several of our team are dead. Oh no, oh Jesus. Hopefully he doesn't look up. Okay, we got away with it. And now we're just gonna try and res someone. We got the res off on Roadhog, he being, like, hopefully being the most survivable one we can get as well. Just to, like, stall it out at this point. It might have been worth just trying to get the res off. I mean, we can say in hindsight it wouldn't have been, because we would have just gotten dead-eyed if we went through a res sooner, but, you know, it's worth thinking when you're using Valkyrie in that kind of situation. It's probably worth just going for the res on whoever the fuck you can get, or, like, trying to go for the res on whoever you can get, just because it looks like if we don't get one, we'll lose. But, in hindsight, we get to know that we would have just died to Deadeye, but, you know, it's one of those situations where it's just like, well, hope for the best. Just hope we can get something out of this. So we gotta defend again, and then we're going to have to probably attack again. Well, we will have to attack again. We've both got time on the clock, so... that's the real punishment for, like, not managing to defend on, the second round for Paris is... Now you have to play Paris for longer, which is the, like... And sometimes that's your punishment for attacking well after failing to defend, is you attacked well, so now you play another round. Now you have to play more Paris. How depressing. So our team comp's changed a little bit. We're less healing overall now. I don't like when Mercy's the main healer on most team comps, just because ever since they... Also, I did punch the table, I'm sorry. It sounded bad. I don't like when Mercy's the main healer, ever since they nerfed Mercy's healing output. I just find that whenever Mercy's the main healer, she ends up not being able to keep up with the damage output. If she's played with, like, an Ana or a Batista or a Moira, like, it doesn't matter. But if she's being played with, like, Lucio or Zenyatta, I find the team ends up being lacking in healing most of the time, which is, yeah. But simultaneously, I'm looking at our medal right now, and do you know what I notice? We've been playing with a Moira this entire time, who outputs the highest healing of all the healers by a fairly wide margin, and she has failed to out-heal a Mercy. So, you know... Life is hard sometimes like that, but I'm never a huge fan of when Mercy's the main healer. Ever since they nerfed the her healing output. So we aren't getting stuck on the ledge. This is a deliberate maneuver to try and stay out of line of sight of the enemy team, basically. It's just... It ends up looking like you're just kind of bumping your face against the rock, but this, it is like one of those plays. It is an intentional play. It's just trying to stay safe. The problem is they rotate really quickly around the right-hand side, so while we're doing this, we end up getting caught by McCree, who is like a fucking god, by the way. Like, McCree has put in a lot of work this game. He's gotten, like, a lot of picks on people really quickly. Like, he has managed to, like, 2 and 3 tap people multiple times through this game. So McCree's doing great. So what I will say about this death is that we could have expected the enemy team to do this, because when we lost this checkpoint to the first attack, this is the exact maneuver they pulled, where they went around the right-hand side of us really quickly at the start. So with knowledge of that from the previous round, we could adapt in the second round and stick just on the platform, and we can stay more along the left-hand side, like in the doorway over there instead. Because we've seen, like, why would they change, right? It worked for them the first time, they'll probably do it the second time. So we can adapt and hang on the left side near the doorway, which would be scary sometimes to do, but because of what we've seen them do is relatively safe this time. And if it looks like they're going to go that way, we can still rotate around and do what we were doing anyway, but just based off of what we saw from the previous defense round, we could have expected them to do that and been positioning differently in adaptation of it, or in anticipation of it would be a better way to put that. So we lost the first checkpoint, very sad. Now we have to defend the second checkpoint, which is often harder to defend than the first checkpoint. Because second checkpoint on Paris being a rare example of a 2CP map where the attacking team actually has more than like one route to take. They actually have 3 different routes to take, which is frankly unheard of. Well, Volskaya technically has 3. Does it really though? Or do you have 3 different places that end up in the same choke point at the end of the day, right? Like, Paris is a weird map, you know? Like, I really, really hate Paris, dude. I really do. Anyway, so bad things are happening right now. Several ultimates are getting thrown at us. Like, there goes the dragon that killed Symmetra. Deadeye's being used, so we hide. Deadeye kills 2 people. It's a classic 2CP snowball victory. They built up ults during the... Oh my god. Did the 3 people that die have their ultimates when they died? Did we push tab sooner so we could see... Because I'm gonna be, like, really upset if these people just died with their ultimates. There we did. We did push it right there. Go back. Go back. Rewind the tape. These people died with their ultimates. Genji Genji might have built up his last percent, like, as he died or something, but Symmetra and Lucio straight up died with their ultimates, so... You know, Lucio getting his ultimate off is, like, kind of an important thing. Because he had 98% there, so he's definitely got it. But... So, we end up just getting, like, a classic 2CP snowball on us where they've got ultimates. And we also have ultimates, but our mans didn't push their ultimates. Did Lucio push it right there? Did he get dead-eyed out of it? No, he didn't even push it. He didn't even try. He didn't even... try to get it off before he dead-eyed. He just got killed. So we end up dying with 3 people who never used their ultimates. Orisa got to use her ultimate. That was a really productive use of sound barrier, wasn't it, right there? That was great. I really liked that one. Used it in the spawning well, so like he gets it and that's it, and by the time he gets to the point, it's gonna be gone. Nice, nice, nice. Life is really difficult sometimes, is the overarching theme of today's game, to be honest with you. Is often the case with Overwatch in general, but today, life is just, you know, sometimes it's very difficult. So we are 2CPing them, at least, slightly. We died, but we've managed to get out here to contest the point 2 times since then. So they're getting 2CP'd pretty hard right now. So we do have our res. We could have tried to res one of these people. So the choice would be Doomfist or Lucio. That's, like, not a great choice, to be honest. Like, neither of these people have their ultimates, so, like, there's no obvious choice there. We could have tried to res someone while we were in Valkyrie, though. We would have a reasonable chance of getting it off. The risk inherent to that one would be that when you're rezzing people, when you're rezzing your teammates, you're not healing your teammates that are still alive. So the fear would be like, I stop to res the Doomfist, and as a result, Mei dies, right? And then, like, I've just traded one teammate for another, and it ends up not being any better. So that's the risk inherent, but we could have tried to res somebody during the Valkyrie, and it would have been relatively safe. The risk would just be, you know, do I just trade a teammate for another teammate, which is not the best case scenario. So but we have, like, fully 2 CP'd them at this point, though. We've actually managed to defend the checkpoint in the end, just by virtue of it being a 2 CP map. So that's very nice. Everybody died. Tragically, that doesn't get to be her play of the game, because it happened between the rounds. So as far as the system's concerned, it didn't happen. So we briefly considered playing, Batista right there. That would be... fair enough choice. We've also changed to, like, a bunker comp now as well, so that would be a fair enough choice. I still don't like Mercy as a main healer. That hasn't changed. My opinion hasn't changed in the last 10 or so minutes, so I would... Oh, no, that's not what we want to do. I did also just kick the table with the keyboard, so that will have sounded great. Just, you know, the healing output, man. The healing output. So 2 of our teammates just died. They just went up, like, ahead of the team and died, so, you know, can't res either of them. They died in completely ludicrous positions, so there's nothing we can really do about that one. Roadhog's gonna die. We could have, like, Roadhog could have left, but he decided to instead hook Reinhardt and, like, try. And all it ended up doing was he died. We did manage to get a pretty beefy amount of ult charge off of that whole exchange, though. We have our ult now off of just 1 fight, so that's nice for us. Valkyrie being, like, a pretty sick ultimate. So we've at least got that going for us coming into the next team fight here. They're going to use their ultimates right now. Things are not looking good right now. Things are looking very bad. So things were already not looking good, and then I just saw 2 more people die. Things are pretty bad, so we don't want to use Valkyrie now, because this fight's dumb. But silver lining, they used Dragon Strike and Coalescence, so now we will be coming into the next fight, hopefully with an ult advantage. We can res Orisa. She died in a very safe location to res. And we decide to pop Valkyrie now, teammates regrouping. Reinhardt Roadhog rather, just managed to get a pick on Hanzo as well. There, Reinhardt just flew all the fuck way out right there. Are we only tethered to 1 person right now? No, we're not. Now we are, but then we change over to the other person. Okay, I thought we were only tethered to 1 person, but no, we weren't. It was bouncing off. Because, you know, obviously we want to be attached to as many people as possible. Self-destruct, duck out of the way. Come back out. Lucio died. We've almost got res. Are we hiding from Deadeye right now? Yeah, it's high noon. I'm not sure where he is, but we're hiding from him right now. And he's dead, so problem solved. We even managed to have time to come out and res Lucio. We're going to capture this checkpoint regardless of Lucio at this point, but at least stops him from being split spawn. Not that it's that bad on this map for Lucio. Like, he'd be able to wall ride his way back pretty quickly, but, you know, time saved is time saved. So we don't have Valkyrie anymore. We don't have many ultimates right now, in fact, so this first push is not looking like it's going to go too well, but we've got 1.5 minutes left, so we've got time to just push in here, and even if it doesn't work out, it's whatever. We've got another chance. Moira's used her ult. Lucio uses his ult. Oh, Earth Shatter, Dragon Strike. Yep, here it goes. I would rather Lucio didn't use his ultimate, because this is pretty much what I was expecting to happen when they came through the doorway, and we just die faster, so that's fair enough. We could have probably just left if we backed out a little bit sooner, but we just die sooner. We just die faster. Accomplishes the same thing, I guess. So that's why I'd rather Lucio didn't use his ult, because that's pretty much exactly what I expected to happen, which was go through the door, get ulted multiple times, and then have to come back and try again. So, you know, they dropped a lot of ults there. They actually used 3 ultimates, but we don't have a big ult advantage to swing it back around on them right now. We're starting to build up some ultimates. Like, if Lucio had saved his ult, things would be looking a lot better coming into this push right now, because this is the last push we're going to get with 30 seconds left on the clock. Who was that on the right-hand side I just saw? That's our Roadhog. Okay. I just saw someone in the side room, and I was like, who the fuck? It's okay. It's our man. So we swing, like, pretty far out right here. Is it because there's a bad man behind us that I'm not aware of? Yes, McCree's behind us, isn't he? Yeah, McCree's back there. Okay, I see. Is that their Roadhog? Yeah, that's their Roadhog. So yeah, okay, that's why we swing really far out of the way. The team colors are not great for me being colorblind. They're quite similar. I can see the difference, but it's fairly faint for me. So, alright, we swing out of the way to avoid the people that are coming out behind us, so it's fine. We decide to pull out the pistol and have a go right there, but the other Mercy swings away from us. There goes the dragon. 2 people died. Oh, now we can res someone. No, we can't. Our res is on cooldown. I was gonna say we could res someone because we just got sound barrier, but no, we can't res somebody because res is on cooldown right now. We can go for it now. We decide to res Orisa. Could we have picked Roadhog still, or was Roadhog's soul gone now? Because I think I'd rather have Roadhog. Roadhog's in a riskier spot to try and res, actually, so that is fair enough. Given the choice, I'd rather have Roadhog over Orisa, just to try and finish out the fight, but Roadhog was in a way riskier spot to res than Orisa was. Big super jump up. I've never, like, bothered to learn how to do that, but I also don't play Mercy very often, but it is a good piece of tech to be able to execute, because just like boosting up over the team right there makes it a lot safer in that kind of situation. Especially versus some team comps that can't really fight you very well while you're in the air. So Genji gets to have play of the game. Yep, just praying that somebody would deflect right there. We would get to deflect something. That's a pretty bad Genji play of the game, because we get to see him just, like, faceplant right into the wall, and then go, oh, fuck, now what? Shit. So, let's go over to the email now, and address the questions therein, because we didn't really, there wasn't much to say about the video overall, I felt. So, number 1. Generally speaking, compared to last season, where I had a positive win rate, around 54%, my win rate this season is absolutely terrible, around 47%. I still play Mercy/Moira, and unless I lost all my skill in a matter of 1 day between Season 16 and 17, I don't see why this is happening. Last season, I climbed from 3k to 3.3 on through solo queue, and now it's a struggle staying in Diamond alone. Do you think this is because of a meta shift I'm not aware of, i.e. Bunker? So, the meta doesn't really favor Mercy and Moira, particularly right now. But if it's a matter of, like, 1 day changing from season to season, there can be just more variance early on in a season that I find can be responsible for this kind of thing, because, like, I don't feel like, we won this game, so that's great, but even if this was a game that we ended up narrowly losing, like, there were very few points of contact where I felt we had much say over how the game went, just because most of it was, like, Moira was pretty bad, actually. Yeah, so that ended up making life quite difficult for us in places. So, I mean, the meta doesn't favor those heroes, which is, it's unfortunate for me, because the meta doesn't favor, like, any of the heroes I play, so life's difficult like that sometimes, but, it's not like it's insurmountable. I would attribute it more just to, like, early on in the seasons, like, round into, like, probably the last, like, 3-4 weeks of the season, I feel like there's a lot more variance in the games themselves, just because there's, like, more people playing at that point in time. So I find you end up getting a wider variance of players in my own personal experience, but, the meta doesn't favor those heroes, but if you were doing well the previous season and doing not so well this season, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it too much, as I would say, there's variance in the ladder, so, I wouldn't worry about it too much, and, like, 47% is, like, still close to a positive win ratio, right? So it's not like it's, like, unrecoverable or anything like that, right? Like, if it was, like, 44%, I'd be like, alright, things are starting to get pretty bad now. But it's only it's only like 3% off break even, so I expect it will even out as the season progresses for you. It might have already done so, because this video was sent to me 8 days ago. We're a little bit behind because I've been doing the map videos as well. So, I would say it'll probably even out as time goes by, just through variance. It can happen. Even if, like, sometimes you're just gonna start a season, like, really badly, and it'll even out over time, and sometimes you're gonna start a season really well, and that'll even out in time in the opposite direction, sadly. It's kind of that way with statistics sometimes. Next up is, at the start of the second round, I personally don't know how to position as Mercy. I use the ledge to GA and peek. I do this at 6:45, so this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. We're doing this right here. So, but I personally don't like this because I feel like I risk losing line of sight of my team, but I don't know where to play as Mercy because this whole high ground area in general is pretty open. Where do you suggest I play? So it is kind of scary that you're going to risk losing line of sight of your team, but it's not exactly hard to recover it from that position because you can just back out and jump and you'll be able to get line of sight back to them again. It's not a particularly high ledge. So, you know, it does feel scary like that, but not the end of the world. So I find that if you're not sure where the enemy team is going to be, or what they're going to try and do, you can kind of just, like, hang out around here, like, behind your shield, and, like, watch to see what they do. Basically, are they going to come up here? Are they going to go over there? Or are they going to go over there, right? And as long as they don't go over here, standing in this doorway is pretty safe. All you have to do is worry about, like, a flanker coming up behind you. But as long as, like, and it's not exactly difficult to just walk up and regroup with your team, right? So I find as long as the enemy team doesn't go that way, standing in this doorway is really safe. As long as you don't, like, need line of sight of the enemy, which you don't as Mercy, so that's cool. And just, like, standing over here is, like, fine cover as well, because you can duck into the doorway if you need to, in case the shield disappears or anything like that. If they go, and if they swing over to the right-hand side, it's to the right-hand side, you know, they can see you through the doorway, but they have to, like, stand on the staircase over there to see you, and you can back down the staircase, and then they can't see you very well anymore. So I find the doorway is often the best place to stand, particularly if you're playing like Mercy, where you don't need to look at the enemy team at all, because you can just hang out in the doorway. And the only thing you have to worry about is a flanker coming up behind you. And then if they start going that way, I mean, you can just stand on the opposite side or back here, and that's fine. Then you just have to watch the doorway over there. And yeah, like, it's just the most secure from, like, the two other angles, because they jump up on here as well. You can, like, duck through it, or you can swing back over to the other side to get away from them. You can just walk back down the staircase, break line of sight, and go through this doorway to regroup with your team if they jump up here to start fighting, but you can, like, swing back and forth across this point as Mercy as well if they dive up here, but I find people don't really like to jump up onto this high ground. They prefer to try and circumnavigate the point if they can. So that's what I recommend for that checkpoint. Next up is at 7. We start losing the fight, but I choose not to res Genji because it's far too risky. Could I have turned this fight around? I felt like I was kind of hopeless and just had to watch my team die slowly. At 7, I could just push play. So yeah, Genji died all the way over there. He can't res Genji. He died in, like, a very scary place. Yeah, this is when Moira dies as well. So, you know, like, Moira dying right there is, like, I mean, I already talked about this, but, you know, to answer the question, like, Moira dying right there, to me, is, like, the real issue that happened here. And there's, like, we can't res Moira. She died in a scary place as well. Like, Moira dies really suddenly as well. It's not like we had much warning that her death was coming to be able to try and do anything about it. So, like, no, because, like, once Moira's dead, like, that's it. We can't, like, keep up with this healing anymore. We would need to have Valkyrie right now to have any hope of turning this around, but at 45 seconds into the round, with only this being the first fight, it's also not feasible for us to have built up Valkyrie in this period of time either, so no. I think this fight was just kind of, like, fucked from the beginning, and there wasn't anything we could have done to change it. Next up is, starting at 10:09, what could I have done to change this fight, or to save us from losing the point? So, like, us dying there is bad, obviously, but, like, so we do come over here to try and save that guy, but then we get boomed back. Then we have to come over here because Reinhardt's behind us now, though. because right there... Because we're like, alright, so I'm going to come a little bit over here. Oh, fuck, Reinhardt's directly below us right now. So we don't want to be here anymore. So we, like, swing over here, but now we're next to the enemy team. So it just ends up being, like, a really bad spot for us. The best thing we could have probably done right here is just land on the high ground next to us and try to play around that. Because... coming over here just puts us next to more bad men as well, but we didn't want to stay there because we were next to Reinhardt. But if we stand on the high ground, Reinhardt won't be able to reach us, at least easily, and hopefully we'd be able to heal our teammates from there. That's like the most we could have done differently in there to at least avoid dying, and maybe that would have helped. But just looking at the overall way the fight was going, I feel like us surviving wouldn't have made overly much difference, but at the same time, at that point, we're talking about us being in a completely different situation, right? So who knows what could have happened. But it was like really like an unfortunate situation where it's like, fuck, Reinhardt's below me. I can go to that soul and get away from him, but now I'm next to the rest of the team. I think the best thing would have been to just hang out on the high ground and hope we can heal people from there, and just hope that that's good enough, but it really looks like this fight was going to be lost regardless as well of what we did, unfortunately, you know. I don't see a way we turned, because like, we didn't even have res, right, like at the start of this, because we go back here, like, we don't even have res, so we can't, like, that's our main point of contact with like changing the outcome of the fight, is like resing a really important person, right? Because we don't have Valkyrie right now anymore. Valkyrie's gone. When did we use Valkyrie? Maybe we could have gotten away with not using Valkyrie in the previous fight, and that would have helped. If we take a step back, a step back, we might be able to find a point. We just use it right there, right at the start of the fight. No, there's no way you don't use Valkyrie for this fight. Even if we didn't use it right at the start, there's no way you look at everything that's happening right now and decide not to use Valkyrie for this. So no, there's like no way we have Valkyrie coming into the next part. Because why would you ever not use Valkyrie, like, right there, right? So now we just don't have it for over here. So we can't, like, try and res, like, Roadhog or anything while we're in Valkyrie right now. Yeah. No. The best we could have done was hang out on the high ground over there and hope, but I don't think that fight was changing. I think that was just a fight that we end up losing, regardless. So next up is... at 11:20, you'll hear me talk about how we have really low damage. Am I right? What are the pros and cons of the team comp we had? Any suggestions to improve it? So we've got... So... yeah, it's low damage because we basically don't have a source of consistent damage, right? Genji, all flankers basically are not consistent damage because there's going to be points in time where they're just not doing damage to the enemy team. They're not sustained damage dealers. And Symmetra, she can be a sustained damage dealer, but it needs to be a really specific kind of fight where Brawl ends up breaking out, right? So that she can actually get in there and, like, laser people. Otherwise, she's just trying to spam into an area. But her spamming into an area is not as good as, like, Junkrat spamming into an area or Hanzo spamming into an area, right? So, yeah, we do have low damage. We're lacking a source of consistent damage. So, the obvious thing to do would be to change one of the DPS, right, into McCree, Ashe, Hanzo, Junkrat, you know, a sustained damage dealer, basically. I'd rather it be Symmetra that changes, because I don't feel like Symmetra brings much to defending Paris in general. I find Symmetra doesn't bring much to defense in general, to be honest with you. So I'd rather she change to a consistent DPS, but rather than Genji, but ideally one of them just changes to a consistent DPS. The pro of this team is basically that if, like, a brawl breaks out, like, we've got a decent chance of, like, surviving it, because, like, Symmetra is good at, like, lasering people to death, like, in a melee, as long as she doesn't, like, if she doesn't get focused down, she can, like, get some damage in there. Roadhog is, like, really sustainable in a fight. Orisa is surprisingly sustainable in a fight, and Genji is, like, squirrely, along with the Lucio, hopefully, in their, like, speed boosting and healing and making us generally better to keep, easier to keep us alive. So, like, that's the pro of the team, but, like, even if we're talking about being, like, decent in a brawl, right, like, there's way better comps that are good at, like, brawling it out with people. Like, if we had, like, Reaper May, then we would be dramatically better at that than we are with this team comp as well. That's basically what we've got going. We've got, like, decent zone denial, because Bunker is kind of about zone denial, and Symmetra is about area control, theoretically, but if we're talking about area control, we could do better with that, with, like, Junkrat, Hanzo, McCree, Tortorn, Bastion, May. They're better at area control than May is, so, you know, the things our team comp does, like, have going for it could be done better with other team comps, you know? So, if you just change one of the DPS, if you just change Symmetra to a consistent DPS, I think the team is fine. I still would rather have the main healer be, not Mercy, just because of the healing output issue that I have, but, you know, if we want to talk about increasing DPS as well, we could make another adjustment, which is Lucio changes to, like, Zenyatta, and we change to, like, Batista or Ana, and then that has increased the damage of our team overall as well. Even if, like, Ana doesn't get to spend much time shooting the enemy team, getting the bio grenade in there is effectively sentencing people to death in the middle of a fight, so that's an increase in damage in its own way. And Zenyatta obviously increases damage, so that could be done to increase the damage of the team overall, and that would improve the comp, but yeah, the combo of DPS is, like, pretty bad, just because we don't have a consistent source of damage. And that's, like, the con, like, the con of the team is really just, like, it doesn't do anything very well. Like, it's, you know, the things it theoretically has going for it, it just doesn't really have going for it. You could still be doing a lot better with many other variants of this team comp. So, you know, just change Symmetra. That one pick would make this team comp look a lot better. So next up, at around 1722. 1722. Around 1722, where it gets very stall-y like this, where not everyone is dying at once, people are staggering themselves. What should I do? Should I just run away and regroup, or should I just try to keep my teammates alive? So, the benefit of what we're doing right now is it does give us a lot of ult charge, right? Because, like, we farmed, like, half our ultimate off of that Roadhog right there. Right? So that's nice. The thing here is that you can end up staggering your teammates more by, like, sticking around to heal them like this. So the benefit is that we do get more ult charge out of it, which is nice for us. Especially if we have a good ultimate, like, Valkyrie Nano Boost, you know. These are good ultimates to have. Transcendence, you know. You can end up staggering your teammates more, but you can end up accelerating the rate which you reach your own ultimate, especially if you get to heal a tank like we did with Roadhog right there. But you can end up staggering your teammates worse, and sticking around like that risks you dying as well. And the healer getting staggered is, like, really bad, because that's, like, you can't do anything without your healer, right? So, you know, you kind of play it by ear, where, like, well, if I can maybe get this guy out, that's better than if he dies, right? So that's good if you think you can get the guy out. If you think you farming your ult charge off of the guy and, like, maybe getting him out, like, you might decide you maybe can't get him out, but you maybe can get him out, but even if you don't, you'll get a lot of ult charge off of it, so that might make it more worth it as well. And, like, especially when you got a lot of time, like, right now, we've got 3 minutes left, so, like, one guy getting staggered isn't really the end of the world to us, and us getting, like, our ult might be the difference maker. We do also end up giving them more ult charge, potentially, as well, so there's a risk inherent in that at the same time. The most, like, default thing, like, if you're ever, like, not sure, the most default fine thing you can do is just leave. Right? Because, like, you don't die, that guy dies, whatever, he probably died anyway, whatever, at least he died faster if you left, you know? And then you just regroup and try again, you know? Like, that's never really gonna be bad to do, just, like, leave the guy to regroup with the team, especially if, like, you know the fight's lost, there's, like, a 1% chance you win, maybe, whatever, we lost, just cash it in, right? That's basically always going to be fine, so it's never going to be bad to do that, but, you know, sometimes you might think you can get the guy out, so you go for it. You might think your ult's important enough to get that you're prepared to take the chance just to get more ult charge out of the guy, you know? Maybe you think they've already got their ultimates, so this guy feeding more ult charge to them won't matter because they've already got 100%, so I can get some more ult off of this guy, and they're not getting anything off of it. Yeah, he ends up dying like a few seconds later, but if I got like 3 minutes on the clock left, whatever, that's like 5 more attempts at a push, right? So it ends up being fine, but if you're ever not sure, like on the... Because, you know, it's kind of like weighing a lot of things at that point, right? If you're ever not sure, you can just leave, and that's basically never going to be bad to do, pretty much. So, next up is at 2037. 2037. At 2037, I really don't want to res the Doomfist, but I was kind of peer pressured into resing him. I noticed after there was a Roadhog really close to me who could have killed me. Was that a good decision? I mean, ultimately it paid off, but if the Oresa didn't conveniently place a barrier there, I would have died, right? I didn't notice the Roadhog, dude. Oh yeah, that's their Roadhog, isn't it? I didn't notice the Roadhog. I mean... It's like... Even if the Roadhog hooks you, you probably survive just because you're in Valkyrie. Roadhog's gonna have like a hard time one-shotting a Mercy in Valkyrie. Mercy being like a not convenient model for Roadhog to hit. Especially if you're like in the air, because if you're like above the guy and he hooks you, like, none of the pellets are going to be a headshot either. He's, like, aiming up at you. Like, it's an awkward angle if he, like, hooked you out of the air in Valkyrie. So it's like, he probably doesn't kill you anyway. Like, the worst that happens is maybe you get hooked and lose the res. He might have already even used hook by this point. If we go back a little bit. When did Roadhog hook? Because it might have been completely safe if Roadhog used his hook. We might not know. He probably did have his hook, because it would have been weird if he used it anywhere in there, and I didn't see him use it, so he probably had it. Probably don't die just because of Valkyrie and Roadhog shotgun not being fantastic. I also feel like at this point, it kind of doesn't matter what we do, because the fight looks like it's going to be good regardless. Because by the time we decide to go for the res, Genji's using Dragon Blade, McCree is dead, McCree's the main one that's going to stop him, Reinhardt's dead as well, so it's like, it probably doesn't matter at this point. Like, it's probably worth the risk, just because it looks like, even if the risk doesn't pay off, like, the worst that happens is you maybe die, but I'm not convinced we'd die regardless. And, you know, I lose my Valkyrie, or I lose my res, I just back up and start healing my teammates. Like, it looks like it'll be fine regardless. We could have passed on resing the Doomfist entirely, just because Doomfist was pretty close to respawning at that point anyway. And Doomfist will reinforce really quickly, because he's got a lot of movement. Like, every button he can push is a movement ability. So, we could have elected to pass on resing him just because he'll reinforce really quickly by himself, and he was already really close to resing. And just bypass the risk entirely. But I think it was overall a pretty low risk. I think the worst that happened to us was just we get hooked and lose our cooldown. It's possible Roadhog could kill us, but I would be surprised if we actually died right there. So I think it was fairly safe to go for overall. But yeah, you know, we could have gone for the decision that's like, it's not worth the risk. Like, if we know Roadhog's there ahead of time, you might go, it's not worth the risk. Doomfist will get back fast, and that's fine to make that decision as well. But I feel like overall, it was pretty low risk. It was just also kind of not very high payoff at the same time, just because Doomfist would have been back soon anyway. And maybe we could have saved the res and gotten a more impactful thing if the fight didn't go so well, right? So that might have paid off in the end, being more frugal with it, but I think it was fine to do. So, next, number 8. Speaking of the Roadhog, I feel like I had to Valk really early because I was pressured by him. Was that an okay decision, or did I Valk too early? I've got no problem with Valking, like, right as soon as the fight starts. We did get into, like, we talked about this as it happened as well, where, like, this happens, and we end up being, like, a really scary spot where bad men are there, bad men are over here. So we Valkyrie and we fly away from the Roadhog. Yeah, like, yeah, the thing was that, I suppose with rezzing the Doomfist right there, we are really low on time at this point, so he might not have time to reinforce, if things did go badly. So there's that to say as well, I suppose, but, Doomfist gets back so fast, dude. No, I've got nothing. Like, the thing is with support ultimates as well, is that, like, all support ultimates, with the exception of Sound Barrier and Transcendence, because those are defensive ultimates, so you're using them for specific times. Lucio you can use aggressively. You could use Trans aggressively as well, but that's a very deliberate decision you're making. All support ultimates, basically, you want to use them as early in the fight as you possibly can. So, and this includes Orisa as well. She's got a support ultimate, even though she's a tank. You want to use them as early in the fight as possible, so as many people can be benefiting from them as possible, especially if you have an ultimate that can in some way boost your team's damage, because your teammates are most likely to use their ultimates early on in a fight. So you want to use your ultimate so as many people are benefiting from it as possible, and hopefully you catch as many ultimates with it as you can as well. So, with support ultimates, you want to use them as early as possible, and I think that was a justified time to use it for self-defense as well, because Roadhog is coming up behind us, and that's very scary to us as Mercy. And other things were happening that were kind of scary at the time as well, but Roadhog was the main thing right there. But you want to use your ult early as Mercy, and supports in general, so it's fine. Like, yeah, I think it was worth it to use in self-defense anyway, just to avoid the risk of dying, especially when we have such little time left on the clock, right? Like, we really don't want to take any unnecessary risks with dying when we've got that little time left. Because if we died right there, if Roadhog does kill us right there, we probably don't get back to this fight in time, right? Like, if it doesn't go well for us, we don't get back in time, so we don't get to use our ultimate, because it's a long walk for us as Mercy. So it's worth using it there just to be safe, just to avoid the risk of death entirely, because at that point dying would be catastrophic for us. But you want to use it as early in the fight as possible anyway, with support ultimates, so it would be fine to do regardless, I think. And then next up at 2110, oh, we're already basically there. I make a desperation res. Was it a good res? I feel like it was really risky and I should have, but luckily didn't die. So, who did we res right here? We resed Orisa, right. Yeah, no. I would definitely do this. I feel like based off the position, it's not actually that likely we die, just because they're reinforcing right now, so, like, they're getting back, but we've got the statue here, the shield's still behind us, our Doomfist is right next to us as well, our Lucio's right there, like, we've got a few people around us at the time. We've got the cover of the statue and the Orisa barrier that was still up. So I actually feel like this wasn't as risky as it looks like. Like, it does look scary as fuck, but I actually feel like we weren't that likely to die doing it. I would have absolutely done it. As I was saying at the time, ideally I would have rather had Roadhog, just because I think he was more likely to be helpful. But because he died on the other side of the statue, he was dramatically riskier to try and res. So I think rezzing Orisa was the correct play. I would have definitely res the Orisa, because, like, we gotta try and res somebody in this situation, right? And Orisa is by far the safest option, and, you know, it was never gonna be safer, right? Like, we were never gonna find a safer opportunity to try and res somebody. It was only ever looking to get worse from that point on, so that was the most likely point to be a safe, like, desperation res, as weird as that seems to say. So, no, I would have definitely done that as well. I think that's fine. And that is all the questions in the email. So, also, in the email, though, it says, down here, I've also become the coach for my uni's Overwatch team, since I am the highest ranked in the esports club, 3.5k peak, which is pretty good. My peak was only, like, 3.7, so, you know, and I haven't really been there in a while at this point, ever since I lost my account. I've become the head coach, and a lot of people actually do come to me for help. So, congratulations on being the head coach for your uni's Overwatch team. Like, Give it, and like, that's a pretty, like, dramatic, climb from when we first watched a video, because when we first watched one of your games, it was a long time ago at this point, you were low diamond? High platinum at the time, I think? And now you've become the head coach for the Overwatch team at your university, which is fantastic. Like, that's one of the best, like, upward trajectories you can make, right? Because you've ended up being in, like, an authoritative position from when we started at, compared to just, like, a dude on ladder, right? So that's fantastic. Congratulations. And it's, you know, it's always good to see someone climb, because people have gotten in touch with me and said, like, you know, something to the effect of, like, I sent you a video, and I was, like, silver at the time, and now I'm, like, in platinum, and I'm like, that's fucking sick, dude. That's incredible. So it's always really nice to hear about, like, where someone's ended up, especially when we've, like, watched the person over a period of time, right? Where you get to see the climb that they've made. I always find that really gratifying and really great to see, the climb that people make, you know. So congratulations. I'm very happy for you. So that's all the questions in the email. Congratulations on being the head coach, and yeah, that's all I got for you. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you felt I answered any of your questions from the email inadequately, please let me know, and I will try to expand further. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I've started streaming on Twitch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 p.m. EST till midnight EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. And if you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future, and I hope you found the video helpful.